Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lair of Voltaire, and holy hell, what an auspicious occasion this is. Orville Deadenbacher is back! I don't know where he's been for the last couple of months. You know, he doesn't say much. And to be honest, I have no idea what's up with the Mexican gun belt, but who cares? The important thing is that he's back. It's so good to have you back, Orville. And thank you so much for those of you who entered the Where's Orville contest, as it were. We have a winner, and that will be announced at the end. But first, I just want to say, Orville, welcome back. This is incredible. I don't know where you've been, but I'm sure it must have been pretty terrible. Well, nonetheless, I reported that I was not going to do an Ask Voltaire until Orville returned, and he's here, so we can actually move on to Ask Voltaire, Episode 3. We're just going to jump right into it. Our first question comes from Faith, and Faith asks, I was just wondering, what are your beliefs? Do you have a religion of any kind? I kind of answered that question at the beginning of Ask Voltaire number 2, when someone asked if I was an atheist. I'm pretty much agnostic. You know, that means I just don't know. I definitely do not follow an organized religion, but I am a fan of spirituality. I believe there could be some things out there. I just don't know what they are. I do have some pretty bizarre metaphysical beliefs, and I will share them with you someday when I finish writing my book, The Nothing, which is a book I started in the 90s. And never quite finished. But who knows, maybe after Call of the Jersey Devil, I might write The Nothing. I like to think of it as autobiographical science fiction with a twist to it, because it's also a roadmap to how to manipulate the rules of reality. Heavy stuff. Another note on religion, though, I would say that actually I follow the golden rule. I would say my entire religious belief could be summed up as following the golden rule. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Believe it or not, whether you're Christian or Muslim or Jewish or agnostic or atheist, if everyone did unto others as they wanted them to do unto them, this world would be a utopia. This would be a perfect world. So that's my advice to you. That's my only mantra, really. I do unto others as I would like to be done unto me. What about you, Orville? Do you follow the golden rule? Right. Moving along, Sarah asks, will you ever come to Portugal? You have many fans here that would love to see you singing. Please think about it. I have thought about it. I actually was almost booked to play in Portugal once for a festival, Pray Silence, I think it was called. I don't remember exactly. And I was all set to go and play in Lisbon. I was so excited. And then the festival was canceled. Kind of like your life. Anyway, so I didn't get to go to Portugal, but it's a place I'd love to go. And so who knows? Maybe sometime in the future I will visit you in Portugal. Camilla V asks, the first half of her question is in a foreign language. I think it's Portuguese, ironically. The second half goes, hi, I'm a Brazilian girl, and well, you have many fans here, and we'd love if you'd come and visit our country at least one time. So is there any chance of you coming to Brazil? I hope so. Brazil is somewhere I would love to play, and as I've mentioned in the past, I get lots and lots of email from there. So I'm going to work on it, and hopefully I will be able to come and play in Brazil. How do you like that? Portugal and Brazil. 2 questions in a row about foreign countries I'd love to visit. You know where I need to return to is Mexico. Just played in Monterrey not long ago, but I'd love to do Dia de los Muertos again in Mexico this year, so I'm going to look into that. Have you ever been to Mexico, my good friend Orville? Adam asks, can we have a picture of you as a child? You know, you got to be careful what you ask for, Adam. Sure, here's one. Oh, isn't that pretty? Here's another one. When you look at that one, you start to understand why I was bullied as a kid. Wasn't I a cute kid, Orville? Great. a picture from my prom. Eunice Alil asks, is there a way we can get that awesome hat of yours? I get this question all of the time. I got this hat at Meyer the Hatter. Here's the link. In New Orleans. It was a few years ago. I don't know if they still carry these beaver action top hats. Beaver action. You ever had any beaver action? Probably not. In any case, that's where I got mine. They do have a website. You can always look there. Or if you're in New Orleans, go check out Meyer the Hatter. Now, if you meant, can you have this hat on my head? The answer is absolutely not. I need this hat to cover my bald spot. But in all seriousness, this hat is magical. It is made out of bats and chewing gum. And I take it with me everywhere I go. So I need it. I can't give it away. But God, people are always trying to take this hat off my head. I hate that. Don't you hate it when people try to take your hat? The Techromancer asks, hi, I've been curious for a while if Almost Human was a concept album from the perspective of the devil. It is by far my favorite, and that's just what I get from it. Was that the intent when it was made, or am I taking it wrong? Well, you're kind of taking it correctly. I happen to have a copy right here. Look at that. And, well, on the cover, I certainly have angel wings, and I'm full of arrows, which means I'm probably not a very good angel. And if you look at the songs, I can tell you that Feathery Wings is definitely written from the perspective of the Angel of Death, and Almost Human is definitely written from the perspective of Lucifer. And then there's some other songs that subtly hint at that kind of sentiment, but the truth of the matter is that the rest of the songs were songs that I had written at the time that just kind of sort of fit into that feeling. So it's not a true concept album, but there is definitely a bit of, you know, what would Lucifer sing if Lucifer made an album? It's a little bit of what's going on in Almost Human. I'd like to tell you a funny story about the cover of this album. When I first showed my girlfriend at the time the cover of this album, I was so excited. I said, look, it's the cover of my new album. It's called Almost Human. And she looked at it and she said, it's pretty gay. And I said, gay? You think it looked gay? Orville, do you think this is gay? You're useless. I thought, you know, you just don't know what you're talking about. This isn't gay. This is not even the least bit gay. This is very manly, in a Queen sort of way. All right, it's gay. So then I called Sam Rosenthal at Project Records and I said, hey Sam, did you get the album cover art for Almost Human? And he said, and these were exact words, yeah, I think it's really good. I'm just kind of curious. Why did you choose to go with such a homoerotic image? So I'm not really sure why everyone thinks this is so gay, but apparently it's pretty gay. So I feel good knowing that our president would approve if I were to marry this album cover. Ola asks, when did you become a goth guy? Ola, come on, you don't know. I was born goth. I came out of the womb in a large black leathery sack with black lipstick on already and on my lips and also on my wee-wee. And I was goth from the very first moment that I came out of the womb. That's not true. Of course, nobody's born goth. But I'll tell you a funny thing. I was goth for many years before I realized what goth was. Because I, from as far back as I can remember, have been a fan of the macabre. And so subsequently, I have always loved monster movies and horror movies and skulls and bats and anything dark. And then when I became a teenager and I discovered bands like Bauhaus and Susie and the Banshees and The Cure, I thought, oh my God, this is amazing, because my love for rock and roll and my love for horror had combined in this special kind of music that was trickling out of England. Didn't realize it had a name though. It wasn't until I moved to New York City that I started to realize that there were other people who dressed like me. and that went to places to gather with other people who dressed like us and liked music, like the kind of music that we liked. And truth be told, I think I walked into a goth club for the very first time in 1993 or something like that. I think I was 27 years old. I had been a goth for 10 years or more and didn't realize there was a place that goths congregate. And ever since then, well, you know the rest. I've spent a good deal of my time in goth clubs. You ever been to a goth club, Orville? And, well, you know, I mean, hanging out at goth clubs, first thing you notice right away is that it's full of hot goth girls. You gotta admit, those goth girls are pretty hot. You know anything about that? Amaranth asks, have you ever heard of Tom Waits? He does some dark, melancholy work and some happier tunes with a dark meaning. Oh, dear Lord, child. Yes, of course, I've heard of Tom Waits. I love Tom Waits, and sometimes I actually have a hard time not emulating him because I love him so much. In fact, Tom Waits was one of the artists that's directly responsible for me making the kind of music that I make. If it wasn't for Tom Waits, I'd probably sound like The Cure or Bauhaus or Susie and the Banshees. It was exactly that he made this anachronistic music that sounded like it could have been made 200 years ago that enthralled me and made me want to make music like that. There's another band right around the time I discovered Tom Waits that had the same effect on me. It's a band called Rasputina. If you're not familiar with them, you should check them out. I love them. And, you know, you can't beat the fact that Rasputina is, more often than not, 3 women in turn-of-the-century undergarments. You can't beat that. But then I don't suppose you very often get to see women in their underwear, do you, Orville?
Simplemente no pudo creer lo que aquí vio. Sintió un trueno y la tierra firme se le abrió. Salieron muchos esqueletos de ese hueco. Porque te diré, Día de los Muertos y Caracas vio. Oh.
Someone who's going solely by the name of Name asks, 2-part question. When are you going to finish the song? Okay, they wrote something I don't think I can say on YouTube, but it translates roughly as defecate on my penis song. And I know what they mean. It's a song that I kind of made up when I was on tour with Ego Likeness on the Maiden Voyage tour because I was so punchy, shoved in the back of a minivan for an entire month that I would just make up crazy songs. And the answer is never, because that song was just me blowing off steam in the back of a minivan, and I really don't think the world needs a song about feces on my genitals. I don't think. Second part of the question is, do you have an abnormal amount of toes? Name. What kind of question is that? Why would I have an abnormal amount of toes? You mean on my feet, right? You don't mean like in a jar by my bed. Sophia asks, I have a couple of questions, one silly and one serious. The serious one, have you ever done shows on college campuses? Yes, Sophia, I have. In fact, almost every year, I perform at a sci-fi convention in Stony Brook, New York called Icon, and that is on the Stony Brook University campus. I have performed on other college campuses, but every single time it's always been during a convention. So yes and no. I've never performed on a college campus when there wasn't a convention going on, but yes, I have when there has been a convention. And the silly part of her question is, will you make an instructional video showing how to give a foot rub? What's with all these foot questions? Orville, I think these people have a foot fetish. Do you have any fetishes? Hey, you know that some people have like a fetish for making love to the dead? I think they call it necrophilia. Sleeping with desiccated corpses, like yourself. Isn't that gross?
Aquí en México.
Meredy asks, something I've been upset about for a while now. When you performed in the Northwest a few months ago, you sang a spoof of Vampire Club, and it was awesome! Would really like to see that on a CD at some point. Maybe spoof your own songs. You're good at it. Well, thank you, Meredy. You'll be thrilled to know that song is the Twilight version of Vampire Club, and it's been on a CD for a while. That CD is called Spooky Songs for Creepy Kids. God, I've got to have a copy of that around somewhere. Wait here. Yep, there it is. Spooky Songs for Creepy Kids. And Vampire Club Twilight version is track number 3, right after Land of the Dead and Brains from the Cartoon Network show Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. You can pick up one of these at cdbaby.com. And now you can stop being upset. Izarro, I think it's pronounced, asks, is there a reason albums such as Band on Vulcan and the live album aren't on your music page? Also, how soon will Black Unicorn be on that page? Yes, the reason is because you sent me this question like a year ago. Sorry, it's been a while. Those albums are still not on that page because that page mostly contains my full-length albums, mostly the studio albums, and at this point, yes, Riding a Black Unicorn is on there, but you're right, I do need to put the live album on there, and I don't know if I should bother with Band on Vulcan because September 1st, fingers crossed, Bitrexual will be out, and that's my album of Star Trek and Star Wars parody songs. But if you would like to hear pretty much all of my albums in their entirety, just visit voltaire.net/music right here. Free. Well, that's all the time we have for questions in this installment of Ask Voltaire. But before we go away, we're going to go to the winner of the Where's Orville contest. Now, on the last video that I did, I asked for you to post in the comments below or on my Facebook page where you thought Orville might be, and I asked you to maybe make wanted posters if that's what it was going to take to find him. And as it happens, a young lady by the name of Megan Coyle made an unbelievably beautiful little postcard that she drew. It is absolutely fantastic. Take a look. Here it is right here. And so, Megan, for making the very best piece of Where's Orville art, you win the Where's Orville contest. Well, you're probably wondering what you've won. Well, I'm going to tell you. I have no idea where this came from. I don't know where Orville was, but I did go through his pockets and I found this unbelievable, beautiful little statue of a skeletal devil holding someone's head. And it is expertly crafted. And, you know, Orville's a bit of a kleptomaniac, so I'm not really sure where he stole this from. But it seems he stole it from somewhere, and I'm going to send it to you along with a copy of Hate Lives in a Small Town. So send me your name and address to voltaire@voltaire.net and I will get those things in the mail for you. Thank you, Megan, and everybody else for entering the Where's Orville contest because you helped bring Orville back home. Now, I know he doesn't say much, but I'm sure that he's as happy to be here as we are to have him back. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for watching Ask Voltaire on the Lair of Voltaire, and there's many, many more questions on voltaire.net that I need to get to, so there's going to be many more of these. So stay tuned for more of me, Voltaire, and my co-host, Orville Deadenbacher. Orville, are you daydreaming? Thank you so much for watching The Lair of Voltaire. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to like the video and please subscribe because there's going to be many, many more of these and I would hate for you to miss them. again, thank you so much to everybody who worked so hard to help get my bosom buddy Orville Deadenbacher back home. You know, when I think of the boobs who might have kidnapped him, I just get so angry. I just love to give them a little tit for tat. Seriously, but I'm sure he is as thrilled to be home as we are to have him home. So thank you, everybody, and thanks again for watching The Lair of Voltaire.
¡Corre, carajo, que los muertos están en la calle!